I love the idea of this moment too, because it's not only about salvation.
Right.
Like this abundance of life, the abundance of joy, like wine was one symbol of joy in the Old Testament. And so like for this wedding couple, for them, their joy just increased.
Right.
On a really practical, down to earth, like really significant earthly moment, a wedding day. Yep. So for them, like on their real life lived on the earth, that experience of joy and abundance, like God showed up and just increased it and through it.
Welcome to The Weekly, a podcast brought to you by Calvary Bible Church. I'm your host, Jay Ewing. Like always, you can get connected and stay connected here at Calvary by visiting calvarybible.com. Today, we have a wonderful conversation with you with the directors of middle school ministry here on the Erie campus, Chris Barnes. But before we get there, just know that so many wonderful things are happening here at Calvary this fall. Don't miss out. Visit calvarybible.com. Let's get to the conversation. Chris, so good that you're here, my friend.
Thanks, man. I think you're so excited. You have a little tear. I'm on the podcast. You're like, it's happening.
Joy. It's all the
happening.
Joy. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How is being done with your preach on Sunday and back into middle school ministry?
It was good. I had 4 hours of sleep on Saturday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's one of those, huh?
It was one of those nights. Yeah, my daughter's body revolted.
Oh, no. It's one of those nights.
Oh, yeah. She finally passed out at like 1 a.m.
And then you went to bed to get up early.
Yeah, 5 a.m. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes, it was good. It was good.
It's good. I'm so thankful that you were up on Sunday in the Gospel of John. So fun to have you there. Let's jump into the conversation of John.
Yeah.
What are you noticing as you're reading and preparing for to preach on Sunday? What have you been noticing in the Gospel of John?
Okay, so I mean the things that I notice in the Gospel of John are related to things that feel like I've been learning the last 4 years of how to read the text and what the authors are doing. And so when I read John, he's a Jewish author and he's continuing in the same line of authorship and his techniques of writing and the themes that he's picking up and putting into his text are the same things that have been tracking through the entire story the entire time. And so, yeah, it was fun to get into it.
Yeah, and this is a really good highlight, even that you hold a Master's of Divinity degree from Denver Seminary. So
a long time ago.
Yes, but you've done your theological work, study, commitments there. And then over the last couple of years, just even as we've been on staff together, you have really dove into themes that the Bible Project has been picking out over the last couple of years.
Yeah, totally. I've been super thankful for their podcast.
Yeah. And it's really been transformative for you in how you're reading your scriptures.
Yeah, totally. My favorite conversation that they have is like the one where they talk about how to read the Bible and specifically techniques that the Jewish authors employ and use to tell the story and to weave meaning and carry meaning forward for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting because from the outside, like you're in student ministry, you create fun games. You grew up playing baseball. Like you're just sort of, as the old word in the 90s was like a jock, right?
Yeah, totally.
So we grew up in that.
Wannabe jock.
Wannabe jock. And like, it's always, you're in student ministry. And then for you to go into your Bible reading with this, like, it's just very unique, I think, in a season to see someone love having these conversations about how to read the Bible. What is it about that? Does it connect you to God? Does it highlight something you didn't know in seminary? Like, what is that conversation? Why is it so important to you?
Man, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of the answer right here. I think it's a way. I think it's connected to similar to what you said of like it helps me know who God is more, and I feel like I get more of the story. Like as I get more of the story, I get more of who God is, how He revealed Himself, what He was actually doing in the stories, and it's helped me like even step out of some of the arguments.
Yep.
Of like some of the conflicts that people have and arguments about this meaning versus this meaning. And some of these have elevated, it's just a different road that it's on, and it's been able to sidestep an argument and still see the truth of the text and still see the truth of God in the text. And so I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Of what it's done for me. Totally.
Totally. It's been fun to be on staff in this season with you. And it's gone on for 8 years now? 7, 8 years?
How long have you worked here?
10 plus years. But it was a few years that you bought this Bible, the ESV Bible, and you started journaling in this Bible specifically.
Oh, man, yeah. I've lost a few Bibles, so
Good.
I can't keep track of when I lost them, when I picked up new ones. Yeah, I don't know. This one's even falling apart. I'm like, I gotta talk to the Kreitz boys. Kreitz boys, if you're listening, can you fix my Bible, please?
That's really funny. So, it's just these themes have been in student ministry now. We like Kingdom of Heaven and parables. It's just a dominant theme in your life, in the ministry you're around, of you want people to read their Bibles well.
Totally. Yeah, starting in COVID 2020, one of the things that season did for us, we got to ask new questions. Like trips stopped, and so we got to ask new questions. And so when Lindsay Billington was on staff, it was like, what if we just focused on trying to teach people how to read the Bible? What would happen? And so, some of these things, even personally coming out of that season, I learned how to read it so much better and feel it's been fun because my personal confidence of reading a text and interpreting it without feeling like I need Pastor Thomas sitting right next to me, or a commentary and trying to read the commentary to feel like I'm on the right track. Like the more I'm able to see how the authors are trying to highlight things for me, I'm more confident that I'm on the right track and just reading on my own and reading those things. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. I mean, just as the guy who sees you lead staff devotionals, has seen all your preaches, who understands what you're doing in student ministry, you're always trying, in every setting, trying to teach people how to read the Bible. That is your dominant theme.
Yeah.
It's interesting because every preacher, every teacher, every person in ministry has a theme that creeps up in every message.
Yeah.
And that's the one that creeps up in yours. In every way.
And it hasn't been the same since I worked here. You know, it kind of started 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yep. Totally. It's really cool. So as you go to John 2 and getting into the text, I mean, this is one of the most overexposed, maybe?
Super familiar
stories of Jesus.
Yeah.
We learned this in Sunday school as little kids. I mean, if you don't even have a context of Jesus, he did this miracle in some ways. Like if you're a secular individual at times, or you've been away from the church a long time.
Yeah, super familiar.
Yeah. So how do you sort of take fresh eyes into a really familiar text?
I mean, for me, it was fresh.
Yeah.
You know, like when Thomas asked, hey, will you preach this text? I said yes. Then I read it again, more slowly. And the things that I stopped and highlighted on Sunday morning were things that stood out to me and were like, oh, I need to track that down. I might not have seen that before, or I haven't looked into that before. I want to look into that.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if that was one of my goals of like, how do I make this fresh? I'm not very good at those things.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at entertainment for entertainment's sake and
Right.
coming up with those things, like mine is more sporadic comedy, not intentional. Like I crafted this funny thing and it's going to land.
Totally.
Usually it goes sideways.
Yeah. Okay. So what about we're in John 2, they're in this town. Where is Cana in the relation to where Jesus and Mary are originally from or reside in?
Yeah, totally. So Jerusalem is the center. Temple is there. It's kind of the center of where everything happens. It's north of there, kind of in the hill country. And then the Sea of Galilee is up north where Jesus spends a lot of his time in ministry. And there's a lot of towns around the Sea of Galilee, and it's west of there. I think it's a little south and it's a little bit west, but out in the country.
Yeah. Pretty close to Nazareth, though.
Yeah.
It would be walking distance.
Yeah. And if you remember at Christmas time, it's always highlighted that Nazareth is out in the sticks.
Yeah.
Like I think it was Matthew that highlighted, like some of the words that he used is like, he's from a stick town.
Yeah. No doubt.
He's just like out in the backwoods. Yeah. Well, he can't be anything because he's from the sticks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, similar town, similar small, nothing kind of town.
Mm-hmm. And now with your suspicion of how you're reading the text, do you think John highlights that town for a specific reason, or is it highlighting that this is the region in which Jesus is just now starting his public ministry?
I think those details are important for John, who's like thinking back and retelling this story. Mm-hmm. Like he experienced it first. And then after, like he's had years to like watch Jesus and really, really let this moment sink in for him and be like, I'm sure it was over time how significant this moment and all the things that Jesus was doing, I'm sure it took time. And so the details of the place, I think it's only because of how significant of what Jesus was actually pointing to, of like, that's why it was significant. And John is like, okay, at first, this just happened. It was in the middle of nowhere, and Jesus was invited because he should have been. Right. And so he went, and I wasn't expecting anything. I was just going to a thing because he was my rabbi. Right. And then he told us everything about who he was and what he was about. Yeah.
Super amazing sort of story. And it's so unique because it's not in the other gospels.
Yeah.
And it's like it's considered Jesus' first, we call it miracle. John actually calls it a sign.
Yeah,
which
totally.
we should talk about a little bit.
Well, I think it's that reflection that John has personally. And even like, he just doesn't use miracle. In all of his, he calls them signs that are pointing towards Jesus's future and his like full culmination of the Messiah, that this like human who is promised to come. I think that's why John does it and chooses those words specifically, because he's like, if I was telling you right in that moment, the day afterwards, he might not have used sign. He might have used miracle, but seeing the full implication of who Jesus actually turned out to be. Yeah. And these moments of John being like, oh my gosh, that's why Jesus did that with the Jewish ritual pots. That's why he decided in this moment, he chose that to be the container instead of all the other options. And why, yeah.
Yeah, because ritual cleansing will come up actually in chapter 3 again with John's disciples getting baptized by him.
Yeah, you're preaching that one this Sunday,
actually,
right?
That's next week. That's Thomas. Again.
Oh, okay.
So I'm preaching Nicodemus, but
sweet.
These themes of John are just so unique. Like every week is like light and dark, right? Water is one of them. Signs is another word. Purification. All these words, condemnation, condemning, like all these
unclean to clean, death to life. Yeah.
Really, it's like crazy how woven they are in John's vernacular for teaching us Jesus' stories.
Yeah. And, like I think in John 1, he uses 7 titles for Jesus, all relating to like his identity as this one to come, and trying to make it very clear who this person is that's on the scene, that is doing these things, that is turning darkness to light, like you said.
Yeah. And now John uses also these things of, let's get to third day.
Okay.
3. He also gets to 40. 40 is a big biblical word, has a lot of implications through the thread of the scriptures. 7, all those type of things have biblical references and stories attached to them.
Yeah. It's been helpful for me to have this idea of the authors of the Bible are from one people group. And so they have like this shared heritage and shared technique of storytelling, of writing, of like passing on these things, of like, and so John is one of them.
Yeah.
He grew up in the stories. He grew up listening to them. He grew up on the scriptures. And so these ways of thinking about the stories would have been very familiar to him. And then he carried it on. I think he's trying to turn it up, like he's trying to use it again and again, and put the like key words, the key themes as much as he can, to try and be like, guys, this is the moment. Jesus is the one. How many times can I show you Jesus is actually the one?
Yeah. Yeah. Third day language. I love how you said in your preach that the third day was the end of period of waiting, God showing up and rescue from death to life was a third day story. How many third day stories are in the Old Testament? Which ones would we be familiar with, maybe?
Okay, I'll preface it with this.
Yeah.
Even today, I had another staff member come up to me and be like, dude, that was so cool. I didn't realize the third day thing was in there. How did you see it and track it? And so I had him pull up on his computer Bible Gateway, and I was like, hey, as I've learned how to know that this is there, this is how I try and see if it's actually a theme that the authors are putting in. Bible Gateway, if you put it in quotation marks, if you put on the third day in quotation marks, it'll pull up stories starting at the beginning of the Bible that repeat only that phrase. And so you'll get the stories, and you'll be able to see. You're like, is this an actual theme that like carries through the Bible? And then you just start reading the stories and are like, what's the common thread? Like, what's the common meaning that's here? And then you put it together, because the authors are repeating this phrase for a reason between stories. I covered 2 of them on the sermon, but it's fascinating that like the third time that a third day story happens, it's actually one of Jacob's daughters that is taken, and she's taken by a man and defiled sexually against her will. And that guy actually wants to marry her. And so he tells his dad, he's like, hey, I want to marry her. She's beautiful. She's amazing. But she's just been abused. And so these 2 men go to Jacob and are like, hey, I want to marry your daughter. And Jacob fully realizes what has happened to his daughter. And he actually like tricks them.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I'll agree to your terms if every male in your party gets circumcised.
Yep.
And so they agree to the terms. And while they're healing on the third day, Jacob and his men go and rescue his daughter, go and conquer. Yeah, they kill him. And it's like, it's a story of rescue.
Yeah.
Like God's person who has been specifically chosen at that time is the instrument of rescue. And it's like, that's, like that's how you go into
Yeah.
the stories. I told about Abraham and how God provided and he showed up and rescued
Yeah.
in that moment. But even like this Dinah story where she's rescued, it's like, oh, like the biblical authors are so sophisticated
Mm-hmm.
in how they're communicating meaning. And it's kind of fun to be able to see it and be able to track and know that, like kind of like a guitar is made, like the thread goes from one end to the other,
Yeah.
and you can pluck that thread and the whole thing reverberates.
Yeah.
It's like that's how the biblical story is created and crafted by these authors.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that third day theme runs throughout, and you can be in the middle of the Bible and you see on the third day, and it's like it plucks this string that is like its melody is running throughout.
Yeah.
And then I've had this continual experience where when I get to Jesus, when I see the theme connected to him,
Mm-hmm.
I have the experience of getting more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I see that he is risen on the third day, and I'm like, oh, okay,
It's the pinnacle of
just
third day.
became, it's the pinnacle of that storyline.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he's the ultimate rescue.
Right.
And the ultimate rescue from like the slavery and this kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so if like that's been your understanding, you're just like, oh, cool. It just becomes way more cool. Maybe
cool.
because I like being a Bible nerd sometimes, a secret one.
No, but I think it's really important, and we're getting a lot from this conversation. Like, people at Calvary, like the Bible is so rich in what you can discover about God. And it's so rich in what you discover, but it's also that takes time, and it takes a process, and it takes just a diligence of reading God's word and meditating on it and having others help you learn and dig deeper. And you get more of Jesus when you do that.
Totally. And I'm so thankful that there are others who are way smarter than me, who are way more of a Bible nerd than I am, who can have the ability to like pass on the information in a way that I can learn.
Totally. It's just great. It's just how we grow, and how our faith is so rich and so always being made new in everything we do with it. So, okay, I know there's a lot of things we could talk about in this.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the 6 stone water jars.
Cool.
And why they were there, and then how much wine was produced out of those. Because that was probably the most striking thing about, the story, the motif of this story, which I think you did a great job. I mean, it was a fantastic job of explaining and really getting into the heartstrings of our listeners. Is like, hey, have you ever been in a place where someone bailed you out, right? Jesus is bailing out this couple in an extreme way.
Yeah.
But he doesn't bail them out to the point where they just save face. He bails them out. And so with these jars, that he bails them out in abundance.
Totally.
So 6 jars. Mary asks Jesus to step in. He says, my time has not come. She says, do what he says. You're like, okay, this sounds like a mom interaction.
That sounds just like it.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. You're still going to do something.
Yeah. He does something.
Jesus, do it.
You're going to have the best option. No doubt.
Okay, Mom, got it.
The servants go and fill up these jars, have been used for ritual purification for the wedding. It's a totally Jewish thing that you would purify in these ritualistic of washing your feet and your hands and other areas, your head, before you arrive at the wedding.
I always find it helpful to make sure, like the things that God gave the Jewish people were good.
Mm-hmm.
Like these were good practices,
right?
That were helpful for them long term.
Yep.
Like these reminders when they came into a wedding celebration, to
Yeah.
just think of the categories of like, I need to like prepare myself
Totally.
to like fully experience this moment. And so God gives them these practices that just help them think of categories of like dirty and clean,
Yeah.
and gave them ways to enter in a helpful way. And so like all of the Old Testament practices, they might have been incomplete, but they were good.
Totally.
And if if the Jewish people, the nation of Israel at the time, would have followed all of those practices, they would have stood out in such a good way that anybody who was on the outside of their people, looking inside their people, would have just seen a stark contrast of, well, that's a good way of life. Why do you guys do that?
Right.
Like, that's better than what we have going on. Why do you guys do that? And that's why God instituted all of these things, so that they would be distinct compared to their cultures and be a light.
Yeah.
And be this thing that drew outside nations to relationship with God.
That's right.
And so these these things are there for a good reason.
Yeah.
And it helped all of the people come in, feel prepared, feel clean, feel ritualistically like prepared to encounter God in this covenant relationship and celebrate and do those things. And yeah, I don't think I mentioned it on Sunday, but like they used stone because it didn't get dirty on the inside. Like if they used clay, the water would absorb the clay and become defiled and dirty.
Right.
The water would just get dirty, and so they used the stone.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So it stayed clean. So, and I was listening to Zach. I listened to how he preached it, and he mentioned something, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. Jesus totally ruined these stone jars by putting wine in them.
Yeah, making them.
Yeah, because it was like, how do you get the wine out of this stone? It was like it would have stained it and stuff. So he actually totally ruined their purification jars permanently.
Yeah, with his wine, new blood.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like
I know. He's replacing it. He's like, you don't need these anymore. But totally. So he took the symbol, like it was a symbol to them of how do you get clean?
Right.
How do you go from not ready to be in the presence of God to being ready in the presence of God? Like that was the symbol for these jars. And so Jesus sees them and is like, okay, if I'm going to do something here, which my mom wants me to. Okay, she's right. She's right.
But I'm going to make it really stand out.
Yeah. I'm like, how can I make it more?
Yeah.
Like, how can I have this do two things at the same time?
Right.
And have this be even something that the disciples reflect on and percolate and have a story that will communicate for thousands of years who Jesus actually is. And so he takes those jars and does this miracle, which turns into a sign of who he is. But like something where he demonstrates the power over his creation.
Yeah.
And is saying so many things.
So many.
Which like at the cross where his blood is actually shed. Yeah. That's the moment where the ritual practices are no longer needed anymore. And like the veil is torn in two, and like the final culmination of like, hey, this old system is like, you don't need it anymore. Its time has ended, and there's a new way of coming into the presence of God, a new way of being the people of God, all of those things. It was embedded in the stone jar.
All in his first miracle.
Choice. Yeah, all in his... Woo.
Yeah.
Excuse me, everybody.
Yeah. I think with the devotional side of me was really attracted to the stone jars are filled with wine. And that wine, I mean, it's a small town wedding. But the wine that Jesus created would have been about 750 bottles of wine. That's a little in excess of what the wedding needed.
Turned into a good party.
But that's the point. Like, it's about abundance. Jesus doesn't just do what you need. He does it in abundance.
More than enough.
More than enough. Like, it will not run out. And we could rabbit trail that. Like, his blood is shed so that it never runs out.
Anybody who would come.
Anyone would come.
Yeah.
And I loved you. I think you use it at 8 and 9:30. I don't think you use it at 11, the word abundance.
Sorry, 11 o'clock people.
But abundance. And I just love that word with this miracle, this story is like Jesus arrives in this wedding and he helps them out in such a way that is so abundant that they're blessed, they're saved.
Yeah, and I love the idea of this moment too, because it's not only about salvation.
Right.
Like this abundance of life, the abundance of joy, like wine was a symbol of joy, one symbol of joy in the Old Testament. For these people, it would have been closely related. Mm-hmm. And so like for this wedding couple, for them, their joy just increased.
Right.
On a really practical, down to earth, like really significant earthly moment, a wedding day. Yep. So for them, like on their real life lived on the earth, that experience of joy and abundance, like God showed up and just increased it and through it. And so it has to do with like our salvation and eternal life and our day and our life right here today.
Totally.
Of like being with God and experience the abundance.
And joy and the celebration of the consummation of a wedding. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
We probably could riff on this passage way too long. And I'm super thankful for your preach on this very familiar story and making it new. And thanks for your faithfulness to help people at Calvary to really discover how to read their Bibles better and well and read them for themselves. Because I think that's really important part of the ministry you do here at Calvary. Calvary, so thankful for this conversation today. I'm thankful that Chris was able to sit down with us and you're tuning in. Just know that in the day-to-day life here at Calvary, the way you stay connected and even get connected at Calvary is by visiting calvarybible.com, clicking your campus, find out what's happening in your neck of the woods. It's just a really important, valuable way for you to step into learning how to read your Bibles, like Chris was talking about, how to understand what Jesus is doing and the abundance that he's providing for us. There's so many great aspects of this community that we want you to step into, and one of those simple ways is just visiting calvarybible.com. Let me leave you with this. Okay, this is the end of the wedding story of John 2. It says, "This, the first of his signs Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him." That's so important for us to understand, is that at this wedding feast, the sign was there, and that his disciples saw his glory and they believed in him. And we hope that this week and in the study of the Gospel of John, you will see all these connections, all these ways in which the manifestation of God's glory is revealed in his son Jesus, and that you and I can step into believing that he is the Son of God. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great week.